This video is about the database tab of the viewer. We're going to go over some simple concepts here, what it is and how do you use it. I'm going to show you some simple SQL commands. I'm by no means an expert, but there's a number of resources on the web. Here is one I found that was fairly useful that you can read up and learn yourself if you are not knowledgeable in the way of SQL and databases in general. So let's go to the tool. I'm going to log into a case I know has databases. I'm going to filter down to the actual databases. Okay, so now these are all SQLite databases, I believe. Let's see. Yep, they're all SQLite databases of varying sizes. You can see this one's quite large. And let's go and see what the viewer can do with these. The first thing to note is that it is pulling these up in the PDF viewer. I've left this like this for this demo to show you because it's quite annoying, frankly. And you're going to want to configure the administrative widget so that doesn't happen. So let's go into the administrative widget. Go to viewable files. This is the iPhone. And let's search on SQL contains filter. Okay, so I really don't want to try to open up the SQLite database in anything other than the database view. I'm going to show you the HTML view, but given I have the database view, generally I wouldn't even want to do that, but I'll just leave it like that for now. Okay, so that's saved. So that was just a simple point I wanted you guys to see because it can be quite annoying. All right, let's go to another database here. Given that I just shut it off, it's going to come straight to the database viewer, meaning given that I shut off the PDF and the other views, it will come straight to this one. So now I can go ahead and close this. And let me show you what we've got here. First of all, there are three panels, if you will. There's this one, which is the table content, the database tables right here on the left, the table content right here on the right, and then if we run an SQL query, the query results will show up right here. So by default, the tables will always show up in the database table section, and you can sort of figure out what those are, what is in those by just clicking on them. That one's got too many columns. Let's do this one. Okay, this is a much nicer one. And you can see this one has two columns, an effective client ID and bundle ID. And you can go through, of course, the entire database, looking at the various tables and trying to assess whether or not they contain information you are interested in. But let's say if you know a little bit about SQL databases, you can enter an actual command here where we can do, so I think it's select effective client ID from application ID. So this should just return the effective client ID from this application ID table. And let's execute that and let's see what we got back. Perfect. We got back just the effective client ID. And you can do all sorts, any SQLite command that you can dream up, you can insert here and it will run it. Now, for those of you who don't know anything about SQLite, let me show you one quick resource. Okay, here is the website I was talking about, the one in the PowerPoint. And it will show you the basics of writing queries. And to be honest, just the basics will probably be more than enough for for whatever investigation you're running. You've got commands like select, from, where, order by, if you want the results to come back in a particular order. And you can see there are all sorts of examples of that. This is the command we basically just run, where we were selecting certain columns from a particular database table. Anyway, you can look through this, you can search online, you can do a number of different things to get familiar with SQL commands, and then you can go ahead and run those. The last thing I will say about this widget is, well, two more things. One is we'll be introducing a SQL query builder relatively soon, as well as a general search bar right here where you can search the database for anything. And hopefully that will facilitate people who are less knowledgeable in the ways of SQL building more powerful queries and getting to the essence of the database as quickly as possible. The other thing I'll say is the way this tab works is it pulls the entire database into memory, and then it utilizes it just like a SQLite or any sort of database. The reason I mention that is you really have to be smart about the amount of memory you have on your system, how much you have available for this. Otherwise, you're going to have a bad experience where it sucks up all the available memory, and then you have an unresponsive system that you're going to need to effectively shut down and reboot. Of course, you can handle that by intelligently setting your maximum file size as well. So a number of different ways to handle it, and a number of things to be aware of. So hopefully that is helpful, good preliminary introduction to what is a very powerful viewer that you can do really a lot of things with if you know SQL. Thank you very much.